The new dinim we're going to learn today is the dinim of what's called Halachos, the laws of getting married, the obligations, and we'll go through a chuppah, how it works, and okay. One of the mitzvahs in the Torah, in fact, the first mitzvah in the Torah is the mitzvah of pru urvu. And in fact, even a mamzer who really shouldn't get married to another mamzer because all they do is add mamzerim. Nevertheless, according to most opinions, a mamzer even, which is a illegitimate child, has an obligation to get married. He has an obligation to get married. The question, in the practical sense, how to do it. So, and this is, when does the mitzvah begin? When somebody begins the 18th year. Like it says in Pirkei Avos, Ben Shmeina Esrei L'Chuppah, which, by the way, is an argument in that whole Mishnah. Does it mean when you're 18 years old, which means you finish the 18th year, or when you're 17 and you start the 18th year? So in Kitzur, he says it starts when you start the 18th year, meaning when you're 17. So the Mefarshim discuss why doesn't it begin a bar mitzvah? A boy at bar mitzvah is obligated in all the mitzvahs. So every bar mitzvah kid, right away, should get married. I don't think it's going to work too well, but anyway. So Halachos says, because before you get married, you have to learn Torah. And the main learning Torah is Gemara. And the Mishnah says at 15 you start learning Gemara. So therefore you can't have a kid married at bar mitzvah, because then he's not going to have a chance to learn Torah. Okay? So it says, technically, okay, I know today they're much more lenient about this whole thing. People working, people going to school, people learning Torah. But, that's basically why. But there is a mitzvah in the Torah, what's called pru urvu. The first mitzvah in the Torah is to get married. There's a lot of shouts here. We're not going to discuss it tonight about artificial way of doing pru urvu, artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization, and all those things. The question is, does somebody actually fulfill the mitzvah of pru urvu doing that way? Are you allowed to do it? Not allowed to? We'll discuss it one day, not now. Now, the mitzvah is, what's the mitzvah of pru urvu? To be fruitful and multiply. The Gemara says it has to be a son and a daughter. Not only that, you really get the mitzvah when your son and daughter have kids. That's really the time of the mitzvah. They banim ben ubas. They come from the ben and the bas. Even though, in other words, like this: if somebody has a daughter who has a son, and somebody has a son who has a daughter, they still get the mitzvah pru urvu. So you need to have the mitzvah of son and daughter. And when you mekayim the mitzvah, when they have a son and a daughter. So that's when you mekayim the mitzvah pru urvu.
Okay. You said about mamzerim. What is, for the rest of their life, they're doomed?
They're doomed only as far as getting married goes. Now, technically, a mamzer is allowed to marry another mamzeres. A mamzer is allowed to marry a Jewish convert. That's a halachic convert. The reason why it says in halacha you don't do it, because their children, the Gemara says, are also going to be mamzerim. So all you're doing is basically multiplying mamzerim. But let's say technically a mamzer wants to marry a girl who converted and can't have children. She's old already. Or she's just not able to have children. Halachically, a mamzer would be allowed to marry her. But again, he wouldn't be able to have children. Because then it says you don't want the mamzer to get married because all they're doing...
They could become a rabbi.
They are full-fledged Jews. In fact, they could be... the Mishnah says, we mentioned it the other week, mamzer Talmud Chacham, the Mishnah says, a Talmud Chacham who is a mamzer has precedence over a Kohen Gadol who's an illiterate. I mean, again, we were discussing this when you called up, Kohen first, this first. But the bottom line is, today it's not done. Today, Kohen goes first, But technically in halacha, if you have a Kohen who's not a scholar, and a scholar, you give the aliyah to a scholar, not to the Kohen. Today, poskim write that you'd give it to the kohen anyway, because then you start fighting who's the biggest scholar or not. It's just forget it. Kohen goes first.
What does it mean to be a mamzer?
What is the definition of a mamzer? Okay, it's a good question to clarify. A mamzer is a child born from a man and a wife. I'm talking halacha now. Rabbi Kiva has his opinion, different opinions. A mamzer is somebody who's born from a man and a woman who were not allowed to get married or live together with the punishment of karis or capital punishment. In other words, if it's only a negative commandment without punishment of death or bezdin or karis or God killing you, for instance, if a kohen marries a divorcee, which he's not allowed to do, that kid is not a mamzer because it's not capital punishment for that crime. Okay, then it's only a cholol, it's called. He's a blemish kohen, he's not a kohen. But for instance, a married woman that was married kahalacha, that's what's done today. They try to nullify the first kedushin. Okay, technically a woman that was married according to halacha, right? Never got a get. Lived with another man or married another man. Had a child from that man, the kid's a mamzer, because it's capital punishment. A brother and a sister incest, create a baby, the kid would be a mamzer. Any form of capital punishment, a nephew with an aunt, because it's capital punishment, would be the kid would be a mamzer. Huh?
Adulterous relationship.
I said, but adulterous with an Ashes Ish, with a married woman. Yeah. Like just a man and a woman, both not married, live together and have a kid. The kid's not a mamzer. It's a kosher child.
That's the after kedushin, right?
If a woman had kedushin, even not even married. Today again, we do it all together. We're going to learn all those details later. Yeah. But if a man, like in the time of the Gemara, 12 months earlier they did Ariyat Mekadeshli, with the ring, and a year later they got married. Once the woman had kedushin and didn't have a get, and she lived with a guy, the kid would be a mamzer. Because it would be capital punishment. Any of the forbidden relations that the Torah forbids would be a mamzer if it's capital punishment or karis. If it's only a lav, then it's not a mamzer. Unless if it's a mamzer with a mamzer, then the kid's a mamzer. But that's the definition. What everybody calls somebody a mamzer today, that's the derogatory word. It doesn't mean they're actually a illegitimate child, which would render them. It's an interesting din in Halachos Yom Kippurim. Though it says over there you have to have somebody forgiveness before Yom Kippur. So it says if you call somebody a mamzer, you don't have to ask the parents forgiveness. You didn't mean the parents. You meant the guy's a mamzer. Not that he's, God forbid, illegitimate. Unless if you say you're a mamzer, ben mamzer, if you tell a guy you're a mamzer, the son of a mamzer, then you have to ask the parents forgiveness also. Because then you're insulting the parents also. So then you would need to. For instance, yibum, all those things, because there would be no capital punishment, the kid wouldn't be a mamzer. What?
You know when people, it's like a guy says, mamzer and mamzer, he's saying it not figuratively.
Yeah, but if a guy says mamzer, but then Al Rebbe brings down Halachos Yom Kippurim. If it's, a guy calls a guy mamzer, okay, I'm insulting you. If you just want to insult the guy, call him a mamzer. Why do you have to say mamzer ben mamzer? So then you basically tell him your father's just as bad as you.
Yeah.
No, so then you need to have forgiveness from the father too.
What if they are?
What if a mamzer gets married with a regular Jewish?
The kid is a mamzer.
But he didn't say I was a mamzer.
Oh, he didn't say. But if later you find out it's a mamzer, then the kids, their children would be a mamzer. Okay, let me clarify another issue. Okay, again, the halacha is not like Rabbi Akiva. If somebody comes over to a woman that would be forbidden with chorus or capital punishment, gives her a ring in front of two witnesses and says, "Arei at mekudeshesli, you are but consecrated to me with this ring." To give you a simple example, a guy goes over to his sister. Single boy goes over to a single sister, in front of two witnesses, gives her a ring, and says, "Arei at mekudeshesli b'tabazu kedas Moshe v'Yisrael." It's invalid kedushin. Why? Because the punishment for that would be capital punishment. So therefore the kedushin is non-effective. If a kohen would do it with a divorcee, let's say, or another woman he wouldn't be allowed to marry, that woman would need a get. That woman would need a get. If a guy comes over to a married woman who's married properly according to halacha, right, and says in front of two witnesses, "You are consecrated," it's worthless. Because there's no kedushin. By kedushin is not taifsin, meaning kedushin is ineffective when the punishment is capital punishment. But if a mamzer would go over to a regular single girl, by the way, where the punishment is not capital punishment, because it's only a negative commandment that the Torah says a mamzer cannot marry a Jewish girl, or mamzeres cannot marry a Jewish boy, there's no capital punishment involved. So if a mamzer does go over to a girl in front of two witnesses and gives her something, a ring, and says, that girl, even though he's not allowed to stay married with her, he has to divorce her. But she needs a get to be able to marry anybody else because the kedusha was effective, because it was only a negative commandment versus capital punishment.
The mamzer means the damaged soul.
It's not a damaged soul. In fact, the Gemara says God cries over the mamzerim. Why they're a mamzer? But this is the act. Why do we suffer today for Adam and Chava for what they ate from a tree, from an apple or a wheat, or not an apple, or whatever they ate from? So we're suffering till today. Men, women, everybody's suffering. Because why? That's the responsibility people have, that they affect the kid. It is a blemish.
It's not even people that do things wrong.
Huh?
People that don't know, they married.
I understand, even if somebody didn't know. Let's say they didn't know. It's still a mamzer. Knowledge is not going to take away from the fact that the kid's a mamzer. What?
If a leaf of a tree doesn't fall off that tree without God's permission, so a mamzer that's born a mamzer, God wanted it. So why would God cry over something that He made?
Huh?
Shavuos night question.
Not Shavuos night question. God, did God want this mamzer to be born? Yes. Does the mamzer have a function in life? 100%. The only, not, it's funny saying it, the only thing the mamzer cannot do is marry. But he's a full-fledged Jew. He's 100% obligated in 600, and according to these opinions, 613 mitzvahs. He's mechuyev also in the mitzvah puruvah. The question, how can he do it?
When he gets after becoming a mamzer.
You can't.
So
You can't undo becoming a mamzer.
So it's forever?
I mean, officially it's forever. Officially it's forever.
But if you become a goy,
You can't become a guy.
It's a worst thing.
You can't become a guy.
Judaism really is giving him a hard time, so he goes and
When
becomes
when
a
Mashiach.
No, what does it help?
He doesn't have they
What
don't
if-
say
what if-
He can't be, a Jew cannot become a guy even if he wants to.
What if she impregnates a Goya? And that kid is mamzer?
No,
Why not?
it's not capital punishment.
Is this the law?
Not only that, but according to halacha, if a guy lived with a married Jewish, let's say God forbid, a guy either seduced, raped, or was consensual, right? They lived with a married Jewish woman and had a kid, the kid would not be a mamzer. Because the guy is not Jewish.
What if it was a Jewish man or a non-Jewish man?
The kid's a guy, not a mamzer. Religion follows the mother, right? So if a Jewish man lives with a shiksa, what?
But a mamzer with a goyish woman, the kid is mamzer.
No. A mamzer with a shiksa, the kid's a guy. Not a mamzer. Now, if this kid later converts, okay, but this is not something because you can't tell mamzer marry a guy because you're not allowed to. But let's say, hypothetically, a mamzer marries a shiksa, no, and they have a kid. No. He marries a shiksa, and then later, and they have a kid, and they have kids, and then later the shiksa converts, and the kids convert, they're not mamzerim.
Both have to be converted.
If the mother's a guy, the kid's a guy.
How about the kids who convert to become a...
Yeah, but them say, okay, the mother could stay a shiksa. But if the kids who are goyim convert, they're not mamzerim, and they're full-fledged Jewish kids.
That's the solution.
But your solution, you can't tell a guy.
So it's a solution.
You want to tell you something? What happens if you have an issue with a guy? There's a solution. Kill him and get rid of him. Yeah, but you can't tell somebody, okay, you have a problem with the guy, shoot and kill him, and then your problem's over. People would love to, but you still are not allowed to do it. You can't tell but again, if a mamzer would marry, technically, okay, I don't know if it's done or not, but halachically, if a mamzer would marry a convert, who's technically is allowed to marry, and the only problem is the kids would be mamzerim. But let's say she can't have kids for either she's older already, or for whatever reason she's not able to have kids. So then he would be allowed to marry her.
They'll have mamzer and angels produced?
I don't know. What?
So when Pinchas killed the two people, was that for Chilul Hashem?
Yeah, that wasn't no mamzer was involved.
No, I'm saying it's not because he took a boyish woman.
Right. You should know. It's okay. To be continued.